Welcome to The Nation. A very good afternoon to all of viewers out there. I'm Tamina Kausji, and in our studios at Banama, we have today the team from Durian ASEAN. Well, Durian ASEAN is basically an online radio station that focuses on political, economic, and socio-cultural aspects of Southeast Asia, which is especially monumental considering that this is the year which Malaysia takes the chair of ASEAN. Now, first up in the studios, I would like to welcome Grace Cho, who is one of the DJs for Durian ASEAN, and she'll be telling us a lot more about what makes up this company. Welcome, Grace.
Hello.
All right. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, how did you have this interest sparked in you to be a part of the Durian ASEAN team?
Well, Durian ASEAN is in fact a small company in Malaysia. Our HQ is in Malaysia, in fact. But then it started last year in March 2014.
Right.
And I joined as an intern. And my interest towards the different country, because I'm from Korea.
Right.
And then being in a foreign country, and especially regarding the government, politics, economics, business, as well as entertainment business, it got me a lot of interest in me.
Right.
So I wanted to learn more and also to share all the stories and my experiences in Malaysia. So why not joining Durian ASEAN?
Right.
And then it happened to share a lot of stories, not only Malaysia, but it covers Southeast Asia.
Absolutely.
And
it's a really dynamic field of interest.
Lots of varieties with a lot of topics. Yeah, that's how I joined the Durian ASEAN.
Okay, right. So now tell us a little bit about Durian ASEAN itself. What is the vision of Durian ASEAN? It is, I would say, definitely Malaysia's first online radio station focusing on socio-political and cultural issues.
Durian ASEAN wants to be, and that we are going there to become a leading online radio station which covers ASEAN matters. So we want to bring up the awareness of ASEAN, not only in Malaysia, but also throughout the Southeast Asia. So we being a media as a sort of like middle person to act as a public and the government or other high authorities, we love to be informative and also educate the public about the ASEAN mainly.
Okay, right. I think that's very essential because I think ASEAN is thrown around as a catchphrase and it always has been, especially in Malaysia, but people don't really know much about what ASEAN is about.
Yes. And in fact, in Malaysia, if you just go out the street and you ask people about what ASEAN is all about, a lot of people do question back, what is this ASEAN?
Right, exactly. So why don't you tell us and share with our viewers, what would you say? What is ASEAN about?
ASEAN is actually a community where all 10 member states in ASEAN countries get together to work on the issues that's going around in Southeast Asia. And that heavily focuses on political and economic. But we do also cover the socio-culture, which goes with performing arts, music, entertainment, all sorts. So not only that we are focusing on local affairs, but like I said, ASEAN is all about covering the Southeast Asia. And then we can also cover the environmental issues, human rights. So basically, it covers everything.
Basically, everything about being a part of the ASEAN community itself. Right, okay. So well and simply put, and I hope our viewers out there finally understand what the ASEAN community is about. Now, so the concept is to bring your listeners up to date and on the ball news. So going in line with that, tell us about what it is that you do at Durian ASEAN.
We do a lot of things. In fact, we have a very small team in Durian ASEAN because it's still a small company. However, we try to cover as many as we can, not only from the radio programs, but also to go out to the event, conferences, and forum to cover all aspects of Southeast Asia matters. So, but then going back to the topic where what we do at the radio station is we do have morning programs, which is held from 8 to 10 a.m. in the morning.
That's
every day
your
from
ASEAN breakfast call?
ASEAN breakfast call from Monday to Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. And Saturday and Sunday we do have a replays.
I see.
And then, yes, but we want to develop into a few more programs in the future. For now, we focus on the morning programs.
Right.
And then that programs is divided into several segments as well. So from 8 to 10, we have ASEAN dailies, meaning that we do not only report about news, but we do comment on the news that we read, and then all those hot topics that we can cover from Southeast Asia.
Right. Okay.
And then we have other segments such as Monday, we have Monday Morning Matters. matters, where we have a discussion and also / debate session.
Okay,
we
interesting.
Can also,
all live on air.
Yes,
okay.
And we do invite speakers from education field, government field, any sort of field to discuss, as long as it's regards of ASEAN matters.
I see. All right.
And then from Tuesday to Thursday, we do cover business, economic, and political matters.
Right.
So that could be actually local affairs.
Exactly.
So,
it could be something Malaysia-centric, for example.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
So we do invite, our programs from Tuesday to Thursday are based on the interview sessions.
I see.
Yeah, but it could also be changed to quite flexible to have a debate or discussions.
Right.
And then on the other hand, on Friday, it's very interesting because just because it's before Saturday and Sunday, we name it as Anything Can Happen Friday. So we do cover all sorts of aspects of social culture. It could be music, art, performing arts.
So depending on what's the topic of the day.
Yes.
Okay, wow. So you keep it very well-rounded and balanced. So I think you're basically going for, anyone out there who might have an interest in what's going on in their community.
Yes, of course.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now, tell us about the style with which you host the programs themselves. What kind of vibe are you trying to bring? And also that it's all three of you together.
Yes.
You do host together.
Yes.
Right. Later on, we'll be having in your other co-hosts who will be talking individually. So there's three of you at once manning the decks.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we do divide our job scope as well, because not all three of us cannot go in the studio to host the same show.
Right.
So from Monday to Friday, we divide the days into our convenience. But what we do as host at Durian ASEAN is when people think about ASEAN, people still relate ASEAN to mainly political and economic.
That's
and
right.
They feel
it has a sort of a
gap.
staid image. Yes.
So they feel the gap between themselves and to ASEAN. But what we're trying to do is we want to bring it down to layman's term to make sure that we make sure that all those terminologies that people may not understand, we want to deliver into easier terms and to understandable terms. So when people listen, oh yeah, these are the terms that I never knew, but now I know. And then I feel closer to being an ASEAN. So also to make sure that they feel the sense of belonging, being an ASEANers.
That is true. That's true. ASEANers, for example. Yes, I mean, conversely, for example, you've also got the EU, or the European Union, and I think that has been also a challenge over there in Europe.
Yes, of
now,
course.
in Malaysia, so this is one of the approaches. So what do you do, Durian ASEAN-wise, to encourage, feedback from your listeners? What's the response been like so far?
In fact, we do have other channels, not only from the radio. We do have social channels.
Right.
So that's how we want to encourage people to give us feedback, such as comments or post and tag us Durian ASEAN, on Twitter and Instagram. So that's how we want to be able to connect to our listeners and to the public.
Right. Okay. And how's that been working out so far? Do people, the youth especially, do they engage you when you've got topics on the ball?
Surprisingly, they look for us.
Right.
They've heard about us just a little bit, and then it's either they'll call us up and drop an email. Hey, I heard about your online radio station. Could you slot us in one of the programs?
Right.
So what we did was one of the program in Malaysia, which will be held on April 25th. It's all about the debating session among youth.
Right,
and
the ASEAN Youth Forum.
ASEAN Youth Forum is a different segment.
Right.
But we also, like I told you before, we also cover the local affairs.
I see. All right.
Yes.
So this is more from a Malaysia-centric. Okay.
So any organization, any youth summit or organization, they will contact us.
Right.
So those are the feedbacks we've been getting.
Oh, wonderful. So it really is a very open avenue towards which any Malaysian can contact you to outreach. Okay, brilliant.
And then, in fact, people do ask, how do you conduct interview if you're from Indonesia or Singapore or Vietnam?
Good question.
We do have a Skype session.
Right.
So even though ASEAN doesn't really have a good coverage when it comes to internet, but we try our best to conduct the interview session via Skype.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
one has to make allowances for, not just technology, but people's circumstances.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
wow. Very interesting. So I've got to ask you, what's one of the more interesting guests or programs that you have anchored for Durian ASEAN? Is there something that sticks out?
We have invited many guests, and then one of them that I can remember now is a Japanese ambassador,
right?
Yeah, who came to gladly accepted our offer,
right?
And then he came to our studio to share the relationship between Japan and Malaysia, and in fact to further to his perspectives towards ASEAN. So that was very informative, and also he even educated us on that topic.
Right.
Yeah, and when it comes to ambassador, we are sort of like, we become very rigid because it's very...
The perspective is one not to be intimidated.
Yeah. But then he was very friendly, very kind person. So we felt that, the interview session was really well debated and discussed. Yeah,
right.
So that was one of the things I can remember now.
Oh, awesome. So it does turn out that, you can have all the avenues open, and from the corporate world, the business world, as well as the hierarchical of red tape and all that.
And then just to add one more is, like we told, we do cover the social culture. And then we just started to support more towards the music or art scene. So we have invited professors or any performers from this scene, also Southeast Asia, to discuss what are the really issues going around. Because when people think social culture, they can just think maybe they can just take it very lightly, but in fact, industry itself was quite political inside.
Of course, definitely. I think any musician that I have spoken to will tell you that and more.
Yeah, so we want to bring it up and then let them voice out what's the matter, and then try to look for solutions towards it.
Exactly. There is, much that can be said about, unions as well as rights and organizations. Right. Interesting. Great. Now, what are some of the challenges that you think of being an ASEAN-focused media channel?
Well, there are few challenges that I can think of right now. Is ASEAN is still not really well informed to the public.
Right.
So when we tell people about we are ASEAN Center, an online radio station.
That's right.
And people question, what do you do? So that means there are not much knowledge about ASEAN at first.
True.
So to penetrate them to the public, it's a bit of a challenge.
Right.
Yeah, to be able to spread about Durian ASEAN, also information about ASEAN at first.
That's right.
And the second one is the internet coverage, because we are online radio station. Some countries, the internet access is a bit poor.
That's right.
So,
it lags a little bit, may not be able to carry a live broadcast.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then we do have all our mobile devices. Even if we do have mobile devices, we still need to download this particular app to listen to us without accessing to our website. So that's another challenges we are facing in Southeast Asia. Being
connectivity-wise.
Yes, being a media.
Being a media channel, right. Okay, so now how do you see the prospects for the future as being for Durian ASEAN within the ASEAN region?
Well, first we need to do a lot of promotion.
That's right.
To let people know we exist in Malaysia.
That's right.
That's one.
And that you're highlighting all these ASEAN-centric issues, which are so important.
Yes, and especially like you mentioned shortly before in the introduction, where Malaysia is the chairman of ASEAN this year.
That's right.
So Malaysia has been holding a lot of events regarding ASEAN, and in fact this full week is full of the events regarding ASEAN, from ASEAN Youth Forum, People's Forum,
That's
and we
right.
do have
all
ASEAN
this week.
Yes. So we are trying our best to cover all that.
Right.
So hopefully in the future there are more events, more conferences that Durian ASEAN can go forward to be able to cover more events
and to
bring up
represent.
yes, that's correct.
Oh, absolutely. Wonderfully done. Okay, that sounds great. Now, what is your perspective on a personal level as a Korean? What do you think about, the ASEAN community itself and its contributions, and where it can go from here?
Well, as a Korean, from the third party, I can see ASEAN is really rich in culture, religion, even a lot of stories regarding politics.
That's
and differences in the government system even.
Right.
So there are lots
True
of
enough.
things. Yeah, there's a lot of things to understand each other first. And then a lot of people say language is a problem because different countries have their own official language.
All right.
So when
yes.
when
It's
we
a fair
want
point,
to
yes.
when we want to come together,
Right.
language is a problem actually. But then I can still be very optimistic that
Right.
as we can beat one organization or community.
That's right.
To work things together, because we do have a lot of issues regarding human rights, environmental issue, not only political and economic, but then because we have a lot of cultures, not only differences, but we do have similarities.
Yes, that too, because it is within the same region after all.
So there is a possibility and there is a potential that ASEAN actually can become one as a community and people-centered ASEAN.
Exactly.
So even though we are informed or we are told that ASEAN is sort of wannabe EU sort of community, but it's again different system from EU, how EU has been running.
That's right, absolutely. For one, I mean, we don't have a currency in common, but like you said, I think our cultural similarities are what can enrich us further. All right.
So definitely, from my perspectives, we'll still work towards to make sure that ASEAN becomes one community and to be able to come up with a solution for all these issues that I've mentioned before.
Absolutely. So exciting times indeed, especially with Malaysia as the chair this year. All right. So you've been great. Now we're going to cut to the commercial break shortly, and when we're back, we will be in the studio with Gary Krishnan, one of the other DJs as well as producers from Durian ASEAN, speaking to us in depth about Durian ASEAN and what makes them tick. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Ayah, nak kunci kereta. Budin dah habis cuci ni.
Rajinnya anak ayah. Nak ambil ni.
Tak apa ayah. Budin ikhlas tolong ayah ni.
Terima kasih Encik. Kalau Encik tolong saya, tak tahu apa saya nak buat.
Jangan macam ni Encik. Saya ikhlas. Lagipun, kita kan sama-sama rakyat Malaysia. Kita saling membantu.
Ini resip perdagangan Encik. Dah pun diluluskan.
Terima kasih Encik. Wah, cakap betul Encik buat kerja ya. Jom Encik, saya belanja makan.
Encik, ni memang tugas saya. Lagipun saya dah dibayar gaji untuk semua ni. Saya tak harapkan balasan.
We must get on with innovation, with research, with development, with design of our products, of our services. We must increase the volume or number of intellectual property rights among us. Otherwise, we will have to be dependent on external sources of technology, of innovation, and that's not going to be good for a growing region like East Asia.
Batasan masa, mengupas isu semasa, jadi saluran pelbagai suara, segalanya baru dan benar, di Berita Bernama TV.
Welcome back to The Nation. You're with me, Tamina Kausji, in our studios at Banama, and we're with the Durian ASEAN online radio team for today, talking about this brand new radio station and the content that it brings. All right, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Gauri, tell us a little bit about your background and what got you involved with Durian ASEAN.
Okay, so I'm actually from Penang. I moved to KL to basically continue with my studies.
Right.
So I'm currently pursuing my master's in performing arts.
Right.
And the thing about performing arts is it's somehow rather goes back to politics if you study all the scripts.
That's right, of course.
Right, because it's a way
Art is, of course, a way of expression. Yes.
That's right, and it also sort of records what happens in that particular moment in history. So somehow or other, it always goes back to the political situation in the country at that time.
Right.
So I was very intrigued at how politics and performing arts kind of intertwine.
That's
so
right.
Because I already have a performing arts background, I wanted to venture more into politics, regional affairs, current issues. So I thought that Durian ASEAN will be a very good platform for me to have a good balance of both.
Right, all right. So you have been with the Durian ASEAN team almost since its inception last year.
Pretty much, yeah. I think I started just 1 month after they started out. So I joined end of April. We started out in March. So I've been with them, pretty much since the beginning of the company.
All right. And how has it been so far? So your role involves not just being the host for their shows, but you also produce.
I am the assistant producer, and my show is usually on Fridays, which is focused on social-cultural because of my performing arts background.
Right, okay. And your show is?
It's called Anything Can Happen Friday. I think Grace mentioned it as well. So we actually work on it together because Grace is a musician herself. And so we focus more on bringing in people from the art scene. And we try to have a good mix of everything from theater, from music, from comedy, stand-up comedy scene, traditional music, traditional arts. So that's focused on Friday, which we are both spearheading that show.
Right, okay, sounds very interesting. So let's focus a little bit more about the content of your show itself. And how has it been so far? Has it been a challenge for you to find the type of people you would like to bring out there or otherwise?
Well, it has actually evolved a lot since last year.
Right.
I guess last year we were not so clear about Monday to Friday. We just sort of slotted everything in whenever it was convenient, but then we came up with a proper structure after that as the months went on, and so that's why we have Mondays for ASEAN Matters, and then Tuesday to Thursday politics, economic, business,
it's
and
a
Friday,
lot more clear cut.
Right. So when it comes to the guest, it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes, but I guess it depends on going to events and networking, and sometimes also keeping up with what's happening, the ASEAN Summit. Or is it time for the budget? So we get in speakers to talk about the budget, or GST. And right now there's the ASEAN Youth Forum, People's Forum going on. So yeah, it's a combination of keeping up with things and also going out there, meeting people and networking.
Right, okay. Sounds like a very, very hectic sort of schedule.
Oh yeah, it can get pretty hectic.
Exactly. How's the work-life balance so far?
Well, I would have to say it's pretty tough to balance between work and studies.
Right.
Because sometimes I have to go to class and then rush back to work, and I'll be at work and I have to rush back to class.
Right.
But I guess it goes back to how well we organize things as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
time management is everything.
And also flexibility, because in the morning is very important, of course, because that's when the hosting happens.
That's right.
The
Your live
happen.
shows go on.
That's right. So after that, depends if I have classes, I do have to rush off sometimes.
Okay.
It can get pretty busy.
Right. Okay. So now let's move along to some of the key issues which have been discussed and featured so far at Durian ASEAN.
So with all our programs, we try to follow the 3 pillars of the ASEAN integration, which is the politics, economic, and social-cultural.
Right.
So when it comes to politics, we break it down as well. It can be the current issue, or it can be touch on human rights, like we discussed. Maybe one of the key issues would be about the Rohingyas in Myanmar, because that is something
the ASEAN
that
focus. Yes,
that's right.
Brings in everyone.
A lot of the mainstream media probably do not touch on that because it's such a sensitive issue.
That's
that, I guess not really talking about it, but also bringing it up itself brings up a lot of questions. So we try to get a few people in, and we talked about it before, and also in Malaysia about death in custody, or the migrant workers, the state of migrant workers in Malaysia.
That's right, the treatment and the conditions that they live in.
And what's being done about it, the homeless people. And when it comes to economics, we had a lot of speakers. We actually dedicated a whole month to the budget itself last year when it was happening. Yeah, because we want people to know what's happening. I think Grace also mentioned earlier that at Durian ASEAN, we try to take a big issue. It can be an issue that's very technical, and we get in experts. We try to break it down as much as possible so everyone can understand what is it about.
In layman terms, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone can relate to it and they know what's going on, especially with the GST that happened.
That's right.
And a lot of people were so confused. Like,
I think a lot of people are still confused. So what kind of shows has Durian ASEAN run in conjunction with raising awareness about GST in general?
So for GST, we actually had someone from ISIS, not the Iraq.
That's
ISIS,
right.
The one in KL, the Research Institute.
Yes.
So we got in a senior economist to actually give us a different perspective, because a lot of people think that GST is just bad. And it's, we're not ready for it. It's a huge burden. But he gave a very different perspective on the whole issue, on why it's necessary for the economy of the country, and how all these different factors were already weighed out. And the
initially and prior to actually.
That's right. Before they actually implemented it, a lot of the businesses were actually given ample time to prepare. And he also explained about how it really works, and also gave us a few tips about how the shopkeepers should actually charge and not charge GST.
So how to shop smart, basically, during...
That's right. And how to prevent yourself from getting cheated or being overcharged.
So basically, I like the fact that you take, as you said, a complex topic and you break it down, you know, essentially so everyone out there can understand it. All right. Now, you said you also promote the socio-cultural side of it. Now, how do you engage your audience? I mean, rather than just, for example, giving them a static show where, example, a musician comes in and talks. How do you do things different?
So with that, usually when we have confirmed that a musician is coming in, we try to promote it as much as possible on our Facebook page, a Twitter page, even on Instagram. And we try to get people to ask questions as well. If they have a question, they can always comment, and they probably bought the album or something. And, usually they have a lot of questions that they want to ask, because for now we don't take phone calls during the interview, so we encourage more interaction.
I see. Brilliant. Now let's just check out the screen, because they will actually be playing some media. Tell us about this.
So this happened earlier this year in the Philippines. We were invited by the ASEAN Young Leaders Association in Manila. So they kind of stumbled upon our radio station because they were looking for a media that just focuses solely on ASEAN issues, ASEAN awareness, ASEAN integration. It's another musician. And so the earlier picture, we actually got a little award. And this is another prominent speaker as well that we had to discuss about some of the issues in ASEAN, some pressing issues. And this will be our daily banners. This is, I think, Mr. Francis Denker from Ox Entertainment. So he was organizing a music festival in Sunway. And we actually interviewed the main act, Smokey.
All right, interesting. So basically you seem to cover all your bases, not just from the political and the business aspect of it, but also socio-cultural.
That's right.
Right. Now, which of the above topics would you say is the most challenging to translate?
Well, politics and economics, mostly because they have the most jargons. Because for me, myself, because I'm from a performing arts background, I was not familiar with a lot of terms as well, especially when it comes to economics, the whole mechanism of how it works, the calculations and all. So I had to read a lot and try to familiarize myself with the terms. So even when I'm conducting interviews, I have to know what these terms mean before I can actually ask the questions.
Yes,
so,
naturally.
And at the same time, you want the audience to understand as well.
True
so
enough.
It's good that we have Arlene as well, our producer, who she had a politics and economics background.
Okay.
And I'm from the performing arts background. So she asked like the technical questions, and then if I don't understand what that means, and I assume there are a lot of people out there who don't understand either, so I chip in and ask, so what do you actually mean by this term? So
there you go.
Yeah, so I would
so it becomes actually part of the banter.
That's right. That's right. And then our speaker can explain it to us probably in the technical way, and also to simplify it for people who do not have the background in politics or economics to truly understand. So I would think that for me, hosting the shows about politics, especially economics, would be quite challenging because of the terms that are involved.
But it's something that you learn as you go along.
That's
and
right.
The viewers and the audience as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so this is what's currently ongoing at Durian ASEAN.
Yeah.
Now, what about the future plans of Durian ASEAN, and what is the vision in the next 5 years, for example?
So as of now, we actually started out with Durian FM. That was a Mandarin radio station focusing on domestic issues. And later on, because our boss Jamal, he kind of saw the potential for ASEAN. It's growing, and the ASEAN integration is happening, and also Malaysia is the chairman of ASEAN this year.
That's right.
So he saw a tremendous potential, and
it's a very
saw
pivotal
the niche.
year indeed.
That's right. So that's how we started out with Durian ASEAN. We wanted to have an English radio station to reach out to a wider audience, a wider range of people as well. And we are also venturing into Durian Nusantara, which will be in Malay. So that will cater to pretty much anyone who speaks Malay and can understand Malay. And with that, we're also trying to tap into the Indonesian market, which is a huge potential in this region as well. So right now we already have 3 stations, Mandarin, English, and Malay. And hopefully we keep expanding. And by the end of 5 years, have a more comprehensive or more inclusive reach of all the countries. And also in terms of partnership, because right now we've tried so hard to collaborate with so many organizations who are working on ASEAN. And we have also engaged with the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, the ASEAN Youth Summit, the ASEAN People's Forum, even the ASEAN Summit itself, and also environmental organizations to discuss about some pressing issues like what's happening in Laos, in Vietnam, with all the building of hydroelectric dams, and
there's
a
lot of
disruption
land
of
so
landscape,
and so forth.
people losing their livelihood. So even in terms of partnership, we try to have an inclusive way of doing it.
Not just including the bureaucracy, but also environment.
Also with certain NGOs that are working really hard, especially on a regional basis.
Right. Could you tell our viewers about any particular cause or organization, especially locally, that you feel for and that you support?
We are working with Eco-Nights as well.
Okay, tell us about Eco-Nights.
Eco-Nights is an NGO as well. It's headed by this very passionate woman. Her name is Yasmin, and we've worked with her since last year, and she's one person is very, very passionate about environmental issues in Malaysia. And we have worked very closely with her. She organizes a lot of forums as well on sustainability, on haze, trying to increase awareness on a lot of issues.
What to do and how to tackle the issues.
That's right. So we've had her in. She's also invited a lot of guests, CEOs of hotels, or even filmmakers who make movies about environment, trying to increase awareness.
Because the base just starts here, but it branches out into so many avenues.
And environmental issues is also something that I'm passionate about. And if I may, I'm from Penang, and in Penang we have banned plastic bags completely.
That's
and I think that's something that
a brilliant
people
initiative.
in KL should also start doing, probably.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It might cause a little bit of short-term heartache, but it's worth it.
Because when I came here from Penang, and I was just given plastic bags, and I was like, wait, what? I didn't ask for this.
That's right.
Because back in Penang, you're just so used to bringing your own bag. So that's why I love working with Eco-Nights as well, because in all this pursuit of development and infrastructure, it's so easy to neglect the environment side.
Absolutely,
of
especially in budding economies all around ASEAN.
And Malaysia is the developing country as well. There's
Very true.
so much more infrastructure development that will be happening. So we need these organizations to sort of give us the reality check, or just to keep things in balance.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we pay attention to all aspects.
True, true. And I think the most important thing that you're doing is that you're reaching out to people in a format that they understand. The fact that you're online and that it's so current. So tell us a little bit about your target audience, moving on to there. Who is it that you want tuning into Durian ASEAN and listening to all the issues and views that you put out there?
So to give it a simple answer, anybody who is interested in anything ASEAN at all, because we, like I said earlier, we have shows that range from ASEAN matters to politics, economic, social, cultural, and they're all regional. Especially our shows on Monday, which is focused on ASEAN, Monday Morning Matters, where we talk about just AEC, ASEAN integration, what is ASEAN about, what's happening with ASEAN right now, what's the future,
what are the hot topics in the news?
That's right, post-2015. And it's just solely focused on ASEAN. And even on the other days, on Fridays, although a lot of people that we invite, of course, from Malaysia, we do have a lot of speakers from Indonesia, from Philippines, from Brunei. So I guess our target audience will be everyone from Southeast Asia, anyone who wants to learn about ASEAN, who wants to know why is ASEAN integration so important for us, especially this year in Malaysia. But to give it an age group, we generally focus those between 18 to 40 years old. And anyone who is a heavy user of the internet, social media.
Absolutely, Anybody who's always got their earphones plugged in.
And also, recently I've spoken to a few people, a few businessmen, a few students, postgraduate students. They have actually been using Durian ASEAN as a source for their Southeast Asian studies. So it's great to be able to reach out to students and businessmen as well.
Which is amazing. I mean, you've got one of the goals and key pillars of ASEAN right there.
That's
helping with education.
And these students, they actually use our content for their research and also present it in class. So I guess we are actually doing our part in increasing awareness on ASEAN, the ASEAN integration and AEC as well, and also domestic issues.
That's great. Now, what are your media channels, just to wrap it up before you leave and I bring Arlene into further sharing?
So, of course, we have our website, which is where everything happens. You can listen to the show live, all the podcasts, all the videos are there. We have our Facebook page, which we update a lot. Every time we go for events, there's always pictures and quotes from the speakers, sort of like a real-time update. And for the younger generation, we also have Instagram and Twitter, because that seems to be more popular.
Absolutely.
So with Instagram, of course, it's mostly photos from all the events as well, hashtagging the events. And on Twitter, we try to also include quotes from the speakers when we're attending an event, and also try to interact with other Twitter users according to the trending topics, or what's hot in Malaysia, what's hot in Southeast Asia right now. And these are all the different channels that we have. And we also have a YouTube channel where we upload all our daily interviews. All the podcasts are available there. And that's about it.
Okay, great. So there you go. So we've had Gauri Krishnan in the studios with us, and she's told us all about where exactly you can find all of Durian ASEAN's content. So stay with us, don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly with our last guest of the day.
Halo, apa kabar pemirsa? Salam dari Jakarta. Sebuah program kerjasama Kantor Berita Indonesia Antara dengan Kantor Berita Malaysia bernama hadir menjumpai Anda.
Batasan masa, mengupas isu semasa, jadi saluran pelbagai suara, segalanya baru dan benar di Berita Bernama TV.
ASEAN is your #1 radio station for anything and everything concerning ASEAN. Since Malaysia is the chairman of ASEAN 2015, that makes it even more important for us to know the significance of ASEAN. Our daily breakfast show, the ASEAN Breakfast Call, is dedicated to raising awareness on ASEAN. Let's go through our breakfast show.
ASEAN Daily happens every Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning, with at least 3 cups of coffee. We discuss, critique, and provide a concise background to the issues that are discussed. Want to know what's brewing in ASEAN? Tune into ASEAN Daily.
Monday Morning Matters is solely dedicated to ASEAN issues. Want to know more about the 10 member states? What is the AEC? What is its aim and purposes? We have all the answers for you.
The Durian Hit runs from Tuesday to Thursday at 9 a.m. We analyze hot relevant topic concerning Malaysia or Southeast Asia. We also do invite some experts and drill them on the matter, leaving no stone unturned. Topics range from politics, economic, business, and other important areas.
Anything can happen Friday. ASEAN is rich in art, history, tradition, and culture. So we explore the social cultural part of Southeast Asia. Expect to hear from musicians, theatre practitioners, fashion designers, and lifestyle experts providing their insights on the topic. To listen to all our programs, just log on to www.durianasean.com. You can download the TuneIn app on your smartphone. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.
All right, welcome back to The Nation, and as you've just watched, that was Durian ASEAN's video, just basically telling us what it is that they do. We have now in the studios with us Nor Arlene Tan, who is producer and host with Durian ASEAN.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the studios.
Yeah, nice to be here, actually.
All right, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Durian ASEAN and all the good work that they do, Arlene.
Actually, my background is international relations. I've always been interested in this region.
Okay.
And coming from a think tank background, this is actually the first time I involved in media. But I think what is exciting about Durian ASEAN is not just because it's an online media, but it's a media that it reaches out to everyone, and it tries to connect with people from Southeast Asia and also beyond Southeast Asia.
That's right. I think it's a very exciting challenge indeed. I mean, it's almost unimaginable how many people you can potentially reach out to.
Yes, considering there's 600 million population of Southeast Asian, and most of them are the younger generation.
Right. So moving on to one of the most pivotal topics, what is Durian ASEAN's perspective on Malaysia's chairmanship of the ASEAN this year?
This is the exciting part because Malaysia, it's been 10 years since the last time Malaysia was the host of the ASEAN Summit, and this year is really exciting for Malaysia itself because Malaysia would be engaging with the civil society, the business community, including youth as well, and besides that, critical issues will be discussed on that particular platform. For us at Durian ASEAN, we try to engage with all sectors, including the government, in trying to address all the key issues that will be addressed in the ASEAN Summit, also on the ground when it comes to the grassroots.
Right, okay. So it sounds like a very, very broad scope indeed. Now, how do you at the Durian ASEAN team, and how do you cope with the demands that this must put on you?
Yeah. Actually, we try to categorize issue according to priorities and also according to different areas. I think two of my co-producers have mentioned earlier.
That's
in terms
right.
of we divided into like, fun topics like involving social, cultural, and then we have
lighter
business
topics, for example.
And then we try to introduce people from the business community. And of course, we want to tackle issues that are hard-hitting, that are current. For example, issues regarding on ASEAN perspective in terms of our relation with our neighbors, and also in terms of ASEAN as a whole, how are we going to integrate into ASEAN communities. So these are key questions that maybe domestically Malaysians in particular seldom ask ourselves. I mean, perhaps also we focus too much on national issues. So it's a good way for us to like expand our horizon and look beyond just Malaysia boundaries.
That's right. Okay. Now, how do you, as a host for, as well as a producer for Durian ASEAN, go about focusing on what's most important, what's most current? How do you choose your issues?
How do we choose our issues? It depends on what is happening on the ground at that time.
Right.
I mean, I give example like this, the whole of this month, we focus solely on ASEAN community, and we try to engage people from different background, because to us, when the government, Prime Minister Najib Razak mentioned that ASEAN community is supposed to be a people-centric ASEAN community. So we try to engage with people from the civil society, perspective on human rights and perspective on environment, and also the business community, what are the issues that is impending, SMEs, MNCs, and of course the government as well. To us, we believe that when we talk about ASEAN community, it's not just about the higher level of discourse, it's also on the ground. But we also engage with economists, with political analysts on issues that are, I would say, on top, like for example, our relationship with China, our relationship with the US.
Right. So it's all top deck, but at the same time, you're trying to bring it to the layman.
Yes.
Right.
I think the language that we use is probably a bit different from like a typical radio station. We try to use less jargon, I guess, in a way, or we try to infuse like examples, try to include things that laymen would understand.
Right.
Because I think
something relatable.
Yeah, I mean, it's important for, it is really important for people like us to who may not necessarily be involved in this higher level discourse to know about, okay, what are we getting in terms of the TPPA,
but how does it affect me?
TPPA agreement or RCEP agreement or even the AEC. So I think it's important to know.
Okay, well said. Now, what is the AEC itself? Let's break it down for our viewers out there. Yes, let's go step by step.
Yeah. So the general idea of AEC is the creation of a single market, meaning that there's a freer flow of trade, of skilled labours, and of that there will be the movement of people will be easier. Like let's say you want to go from Malaysia to Vietnam, you don't need to apply for visa. You will have a special immigration entrance for ASEAN. So these are some of the key mechanisms. But of course, that is on the governmental level. But I think on the private sector level, you see AirAsia, how it uses the aviation industry to connect people from different areas in Southeast
traveling
Asia.
around ASEAN's never been easier. Right. Okay. So what would you say is the significance of the AEC to Southeast Asia now that the focus is here? How is it going to help us move beyond and move into the future?
I think we need to see AEC not as a destiny, but as a process of liberalization. When I say liberalization, it's not just economic liberalization. It's also about the movement of people, integration of communities. So in a way that when ASEAN wants to create this ASEAN economic community, it's not just about addressing like lower tariff or non-tariff barriers, but it's also about addressing key political and economic issues that are impending in each of the countries. I mean, for example, human rights issues of structural reforms. ASEAN connectivity will be one of the key issues, because you want to have people and resources move freely, but you need infrastructure.
That's true. You can't just have one without the other.
And of course, in terms of foreign investment, because you need money to build all this infrastructure.
Exactly.
And then when you say you need all this money, then you need to know like how is our relations with our neighbors.
That's right.
Yeah. And not to mention, I think the area of security is really important, especially the issue of South China Sea is something that we need to know, like, because we do not want to be in a position where we are at risk as a region.
Yes, true. Yeah. And especially I would say Malaysians, as those of us living on the peninsula, we're often very poorly, informed about what's happening in the islands as well as, the East Coast.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so that wise, what sort of programming is Durian ASEAN carrying or planning to carry with lights to making the AEC more a broad-based topic of common discussion?
I think right now our focus is mainly on radio interviews,
right.
But in the future we want to go for video interviews. Right now, I mean, for example, we will be covering a lot of the different ASEAN events on the ground, interviewing different people, trying to get their perspective on what they know about AEC. I mean, sadly, majority of the younger generation or majority of people in Southeast Asia might not be aware of what AEC is all about. So I guess that's our role in Durian ASEAN, playing the part.
Okay, right. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the exciting upcoming events under ASEAN which are happening all of this month?
Well, the thing is, a lot of different organizations, they are holding different events at the same time.
That's right.
In leading towards the ASEAN Summit, which will be on the 26th and 27th. But in leading towards it, namely a few where we are the media partners of the event, you have ASEAN Youth Forum. Then you have the ASEAN People's Forum, which will be happening right now until, I think, if I'm not mistaken, until 24th of April. Then you have the ASEAN Business Awards, organized by the ASEAN Business Advisory Council. And I think on another note, I think CIMB also had the ASEAN Young People, young leaders, where they try to promote conservation of heritage. So to us at Durian ASEAN, we try to highlight all these different areas that people on the ground in ASEAN is doing right now.
That's right. Okay. So something like the ASEAN Youth Forum that you mentioned, can you tell us a little bit more in detail about that? Because that sounds like something very, very pertinent towards the youth, especially in Malaysia.
A lot of people might not realize it, but every year, whenever there's ASEAN Summit in that particular country, there will be an ASEAN Youth Forum as well as the ASEAN People's Forums.
Right, okay.
Yeah. For the ASEAN Youth Forum, I think the main focus here is to create a platform where our youth voices are being heard. But it's not just about youth voices that is being heard, but also trying to get the youth to participate and engage with the larger discourse on ASEAN community. I think the Malaysian government is also trying to push for the ASEAN Youth Assembly.
Right.
So it's something that is exciting to us and I think to the larger youth community in Southeast Asia as well.
That's true, and I think it's also timely because Malaysians, especially Malaysian students, I think one thing that has been shown is that they need to build up their skills with not just engaging but also presenting themselves.
Yeah, I mean it's really pertinent for the younger generation today to be in touch with key issues like not just human rights and freedom of expression, but also in terms of bread and butter issue, economic, in terms of foreign policy. I think if the younger generation today can be more informed about what the future of ASEAN would be, the future of ASEAN to me would be a brighter one.
Absolutely, you can actually take a steering role in it then.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Now, tell us about what would you say is the future of the ASEAN community post-2015. So there's been a lot of talk about what's going to happen and what has been happening this year. What about beyond 2015?
Beyond 2015 is something that I would say is a step-by-step journey, because the next ASEAN Summit will be in Laos, and of course we know that Laos is one of the poorest countries in Southeast Asia, and there's a lot of reforms that needs to be done, not just in terms of the governmental level, but also in terms of on the ground, trying to empower the people, especially the young people there. So I think ASEAN leaders themselves, they need, when they talk about ASEAN integration, it has to be something that is tangible enough for the people on the grassroots to be able to make sense out of it and to be participate about it out of it. Because when we talk about ASEAN for so long, it has always been intergovernmental.
That's right, and it's always been a catchphrase, but one that the man on the street doesn't think relates to him.
Yeah, I mean, if you are, for example, selling nasi lemak on the street, when you talk about ASEAN, it doesn't really
ring a bell.
Yeah, it doesn't really ring a bell.
But you're saying that it should.
It should.
So tell our viewers why. Why should it ring a bell?
Because I think when it's not just about business, like you can sell your nasi lemak everywhere around the world. It's not about that exactly. It's about seeing ourselves as not just Malaysian but as Southeast Asian. I think when we talk about
it's
ASEAN,
a question of identity, really.
Yeah, it's a question of identity. I mean, historically, we all know that the Hindu-Buddhist kingdom were part of the Southeast Asian larger kingdom. So, I mean, when we talk about Southeast Asia, we are talking about a region that has a shared or has a common history, common identity.
A rich cultural heritage, which is in common.
So it's trying to bring back what was in the past, trying to integrate what is current right now or what is contemporary right now.
Right, and I do think that we can actually learn a lot of valuable lessons from our past,
yes.
because I think we were a lot more cohesive as communities in the past.
Yeah. I give example of, for example, durian.
Okay.
A lot of people might not.
Why durian ASEAN? That's another question.
A lot of people might not realize, but the word durian itself, is the same throughout Southeast Asia. Like,
so good point.
So when you say durian in Malaysia, if you go to other country, they will call it durian too.
There you go. So that's why durian ASEAN. Well done, well done. All right. So we certainly hope that durian ASEAN, will achieve all success in not only informing people about the socio-political aspect, but also economically and culturally.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much for your time, Arlene.
Welcome, thank you.
All right, so that will be all for today. So do check out Durian ASEAN online and keep yourselves informed about what's happening within the entire ASEAN community, especially in Malaysia. Wishing you a pleasant day ahead. We'll see you again next time.